Greeting students, with a class 8th, we have started chapter 2 of geography, that is land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife. So from here we have discussed about land, then we have discussed about soil. So first, then how can we conserve land, then we have discussed soil. So yesterday we have discussed about landslides, then after the factors of soil formation, then the causes of soil degradation and the ways how can we conserve soil are a very important natural resource. Now then after we have started water. So today we have to do this much work, so let us start with water. So with about water, we have discussed about that 70% that is saline water, and then after we have discussed about that we have 2.7% fresh water, and out of it 2% is locked in ice caps, and we have only 1% of fresh water available, that is the groundwater. Then we have surface water, the running water, then we have the water that is in the form of water vapors in the atmosphere. So then after we have discussed about the overexploitation of water and the scarcity of water in some of the areas in the world. So let us discuss how can we conserve our water resources. So let us start with it. Access to clean and adequate water resource is a major problem facing the world today. Steps have to be taken to conserve this dwindling resource. Even though water is a renewable resource, its overuse and pollution make it unfit for use. Discharge of untreated or particularly treated sewage, agricultural chemicals, and industrial effluents in water bodies are major contaminants. Now see that the water, it is that everyone needs clean and safe water for drinking. So but at the same time we have discussed that the many parts of the world, they are facing the problem of water scarcity. So we need to take some steps to uh, check the overutilization of water, and the pollution, it should also be checked, and the discharge of untreated or partially treated sewage, it should be checked, and the chemical fertilizers etc which are used in agriculture, their use also should be minimized. Most of these chemicals are non-biodegradable and reach human bodies through water. Water pollution can be controlled by treating these effluents suitably before releasing them in the water bodies. So it is true that the chemicals which are being discharged in the water bodies, they enter the human body and creates problems for we all. So this water pollution can also be controlled. How can we control it? That the any kind of effluents which are released in the water bodies, these should be treated before releasing in the water bodies. Forest and other vegetation cover slow the surface runoff and replenish underground water. Water harvesting is another method to save surface runoff. So about rainwater harvesting, in many parts of the country, rainwater harvesting technique is used by the people. They collect the rainwater and then use it later on. The canal used for irrigation field should be properly lined to minimize losses by water seepage. This is also correct that we have Paka canals which check the seepage, means leakage of the water. Sprinklers effectively irrigate the area by checking water losses through seepage and evaporation. So sprinklers near Delhi also, we people can say the sprinklers are being used for irrigation. So see, these are given in the this picture. Sprinklers, in this with less water we can irrigate a larger area. And next is in dry regions with high rates of evaporation, drip or trickle irrigation is very useful. So this drip irrigation, in this the water directly goes to the roots of the plant, so there is also no loss of water. Drip, then it is the valuable water resource can therefore be conserved by adopting these means of irrigation. So these methods can be used to check the overutilization or over exploitation of the water in our surroundings. Now say next part is natural vegetation and wildlife. Some school children were visiting an exhibition on handicraft. The articles in the exhibition were collected from different parts of the country. Mona picked up a bag and exclaimed, "This is a beautiful handbag." "Yes, it is made of jute." The teacher said, "Do you see those baskets, lampshades, and chairs? Those are made of canes and bamboos." In the eastern and northeastern humid regions of India, bamboo grows in plenty. Jessie was excited to see a silk scarf. "See this beautiful scarf." The teacher explained that silk is obtained from silk worms that are bred on mulberry trees. The children understood that plants provide us with many different products that we use in our day-to-day life. So here, with the help of an example, it is told that the students, they visited an exhibition and they saw there many things like jute bags, bamboo, the things which are made up of bamboos, then silk scarf. So in your surroundings also, beta, if you see in your surroundings, then also you can get a lot of things which are uh, made up from the material which we get from the plants. So see, in your classroom, when you sit, where you sit, so the your desk and benches, these are made up of wood. We get wood from plants. The notebooks or books you use, the paper, okay, the paper is also we get from plants. The pencil you use, that is also wood is used in it. So, and the clothes you put on, cotton clothes, and then woolen clothes, maybe silk clothes, these are also get from trees, from one or the other way. So the plants, they give us a lot. So natural vegetation and wildlife exist only in the narrow zone of contact between the lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere that we call biosphere. So this we have discussed in class 7 also about biosphere, that it is a narrow contact zone between all these spheres and life is possible only in this sphere. In the biosphere, living beings are interrelated and interdependent on each other for survival. This life supporting system is known as ecosystem. So the living beings, they depend on each other and they also depend on their surroundings for their survival. So this interdependence of living beings on each other and the living beings on their surroundings, it forms the ecosystem. Vegetation and wildlife are valuable resources. Plants provide us with timber, give shelter to animals, produce oxygen we breathe, protect soil. Okay, one by one, we just started. Plants provide us with the timber. So we just have discussed about furniture in the classroom, furniture in a house, that is made up of timber, wood, okay, that we get from plants. Then give shelter to animals. We know that in forest also we can have a lot of wild animals. So in the plants nearby your houses also you can see the birds chirp in the morning. So the birds also, the trees, they give shelter to the animals, to the birds, to insects. Okay, so to produce oxygen we breathe, this also we discussed, you people know about it. The plants, they give us oxygen and they take carbon dioxide. So and that this maintains the balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen, protects soil. So essential for growing crops. So this also we have discussed that the plants, they capture the roots of the plants, they capture the soil and thus help in checking soil erosion. So that is also protected by our plants. Hanji, crops act as a shelter belts, help in storage of underground water, give us fruits, nuts, latex, turpentine oil, gum, medicinal plants, and also the paper that is so essential for your studies. There are enumerate uses of plants and you can add some more. So these are some of the uses which we have discussed, and if you see seriously in your surroundings, you can find a lot many things in your surroundings which we get from the plants. So for today this is sufficient. If you have any question, any query, discuss with me tomorrow in the class. Have a good day.